A very good morning and thanks for clicking on to the early edition of Vogan's European Outlook for Tuesday the 10th of January. This is the 2 meter temperature anomalies globally for the first 9 days of January, and we are seeing almost a complete turnaround from the month of December. You notice here very cold across the top of Russia, very warm through the mid latitudes, and very warm across pretty much all of North America. Cold in Greenland, warm, of course, across Europe as well. Looking specifically at Europe, you can see here how warm it's been compared to normal across the west, primarily across the central portion of the continent, but pretty much the majority of the UK is average to above average as well. A lot of it, however, is all down to the Mandrian oscillation. I believe this has been the primary driver, or one of the key drivers, throughout the course of the winter so far. And we're approaching the halfway point of the winter season. I want to emphasize something here, folks. I called for a colder than normal December, which has happened, and I have in the forecast average to above average temperatures for January. So I want to emphasize that point. Also making mention of the fact that the first 2 weeks would be warmer than average. We would start to see a decrease in the average temperature compared to normal across the western half of Europe, and I think we're going to that. Do I think we're going to have a locked-in cold spell? I don't think that's going to be the case. However, that being said, the Mandrian oscillation is rotating back into the favourable cold phases that we've seen back in the early portion of December, but there is slight differences taking place. I don't think we're going to get the same type of cold spell that we got during the first 15 days of December during the second half of January. But that being said, I think we are going to start to see a significant change taking place. This is the current temperatures across Europe, very cold across eastern portions of the continent, or the Far East, actually, because it's even mild across Poland and into the southeastern half of the continent. Kind of cool-ish across Scandinavia, based on the fact that we're reaching the peak of the winter now, of course, and of course average to above average temperatures across the British Isles as well. Let's say above average actually, but I do think we are going to see an interesting turnaround taking place based on that Mandrian oscillation rotating through 8 into 1 and into 2. Up until now, during the month of January, we've had a significantly strong zonal Pacific, Atlantic, and basically hemisphere-wide jet stream. That has been forcing the cold back up towards the Arctic region. We've seen a temperature, I believe, yesterday morning of minus 61 point something. I do apologise for not having the exact figure, but I believe this is the coldest temperature recorded in Siberia for the month of January since 2002, and that was expected because we were starting to see the build-up of cold air back across the top of the continent once again, and we have seen a response to that. I think what's going to happen is we're going to start to warm things up to the north. We're going to reintroduce polar air back into the mid-latitude pattern with time. China has warmed back up significantly after having a very cold December, may I add. We are seeing temperatures at or above record-breaking levels across the Chinese region of Asia. I think we're going to see a big turnaround coming up in the next week, 10 days, 2 weeks. So it's going to be interesting to watch that. But you see the congregation of low heights across the far north of Asia. Of course, we've seen the conga line of low pressure systems hose piping the western half of the United States in particular. Here, just one storm after another, a barrage of wind, rain, and high mountain snow across the western half of the continent. Of course, that is massive news for the drought-stricken areas of California. We've also mirrored that in the North Atlantic also, with one system after another. But as we progress through the upcoming week here, folks, what we're going to start to see is we're going to start to see these areas of low pressure getting cut off, weaken, and we're going to start to replace this conga line of low pressure with above average pressure within the North Pacific extending into the western portion of the continent. We're also going to see areas of high pressure starting to build northwards here. So as you notice here, this is off the GFS ensemble. Notice the pressure build up here off the east coast of Canada with the latest system coming into the British Isles. Also pay attention to what's going on in the Pacific Ocean. We're starting to see that buildup of pressure also that is going to then replace the low pressure with high pressure. And that is a significant change in the overall setup here. And the buildup of pressure means that we are going to start to see the jet stream getting shifted north, shifted south, and we're going to come closer back to the pattern that we had back during the first half of December. Like I say, and I want to emphasize this point, that I don't believe we're going straight back to what we had in the first 2 weeks of December, but a buildup of pressure over the North Atlantic cuts off the Atlantic to an extent, and I believe we're going to start to see a more northwesterly component of the jet, meaning that we're going to have colder areas of low pressure dropping into the western half of Europe here. So I stand by the ideas that I've got, that we have a different type of pattern during the second half of January to the first half, and we are going to see colder conditions in response. But you notice here a very different look by the time we reach the end of January here. We've got a ridge up the west coast of North America. We've got a ridge over the North Atlantic. So, of course, that in essence forces the jet stream north. It forces it south over North America. It forces it back north up towards Greenland, and then forces it south over the British Isles and over Western Europe here. So I feel increasingly confident that we are going to see a downward trend in temperature, but nothing extreme, nothing like what we've seen back in the month of December. And if we notice here, play through this, this is off the GFS ensemble as well. 2 meter temperature anomalies here. Plenty of warm weather to come through the rest of this week compared to normal, especially across the mainland of Europe. But notice here, as we start to raise the heights over the North Atlantic, down comes the below average temperatures here because we're starting to introduce air from the northwest. Polar maritime origin air is going to replace what we're seeing at the moment here, which is, of course, above normal temperatures. So certainly we are going to see a significant pattern shift through the second half of January. How cold it gets, how much potential we have for snow and whatnot is open to debate, and of course only time will tell. But certainly we do have a below normal temperature regime likely through the second half of January here, so we'll certainly have to keep an eye on this pattern as we go forward here. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Please like, please share with your friends and family, and if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. And hopefully you get back again tomorrow with more. Bye for now.